Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe, and today I'm going to be bringing you my final thoughts as the regular season ends for our 2023 New Orleans Saints. We are here at the beginning of 2024. I have covered last year, I covered every Saints game. This year, I covered every game up until the Thursday night game against the Rams. I never do a preview before a Thursday night game. And after that game, I realized, yeah, the season's pretty much over. So I've been focusing on the off season, and I will be throughout the off season. But the regular season is still here. We have one game left. And by some miracle, the Saints are still alive for the playoffs anyway. We used to have a 16-game schedule, and if that were the case, the Saints would be 8-8, and we would finish as non-losers. Non-winners, but non-losers. Now, Dennis Allen, 8 wins as a head coach. This is his most successful season ever. That's the kind of mediocrity that I want to avoid for the Saints. So I've decided, and I still feel this way, that even if the Saints win this last game against Atlanta, and the Saints finish 9-8, and then the myriad of other things happen, and we make the playoffs, I still feel like this isn't the direction the Saints need to go in. Dennis Allen is a defensive coach. Our defense has been pretty good at times this year. I guess if there was any aspect of the team that we can afford to have carry over, it would be the defense, the defensive staff. Now, I don't know. I have an issue with whether it's the players or the coach, because at the beginning of the year, I thought the Saints had a pretty good roster. We were going to be successful. I predicted we would finish 10-7. And, if we beat Atlanta, we finish 9-8. So that's only one game off. So it seems like my expectations and reality are not so far off. So I shouldn't be disgruntled. Well, I'm disgruntled. I really feel like deep down inside that this team won't be able to achieve the ultimate goal that every team has, and that's to reach the Super Bowl and win it. But you have to be realistic. Okay, only one team wins the Super Bowl, so every team's agenda should be, we are going to win enough games in the regular season to make the postseason. That should be your goal. The easiest route to do that is to win your division. And this year, at this point, the Saints are 8-8, the Bucks are 8-8, the Falcons are 7-9. And all three of us still have a chance to win the division. If we beat the Falcons, they'll finish 7-10. We'll finish 9-8. That'll be a winning record for the regular season. And I guess because it's it would be a 2-game improvement from last year. We finished 7-10 last year. So if we finish 9-8, it will be a 2-game improvement. But is that enough to say, hey, we're going in the right direction? I figured 10-7 would be. I figured 10-7, win the division, make the playoffs, you're good to go. So why does it feel so bad? Because there's a chance the Saints won't make the playoffs, even if we win the game. We could win the game against Atlanta, finish 9-8. If the Buccaneers lose to Carolina, we're watching the playoffs from home. If Carolina manages to beat the Buccaneers, we still have to win this game against Atlanta. We have to win this game. We win this game. If we lose this game, that's it. It's over. We are 8-9. We're losers. And even though an 8-9 team might make the wild card in the NFC, it won't be the Saints because we lose all the tiebreakers. So we have to win. We have to finish 9-8. If the Buccaneers lose to Carolina, we're division champs and we make the playoffs. So, goal achieved. The primary goal in each regular season, I would say the primary goal is to have a record good enough to win your division so you can make the postseason. Okay. But it feels bad. It doesn't feel good. I figured we would be 10-7, and I figured we would lose games against winning teams, but we would be competitive enough where we might actually win a couple of those. And I figured we would beat all of the poor teams. Well, our division is chock-a-block full of poor teams. I still felt like if we were 4-2 in a division, we'd be good. Well, lo and behold, if we beat Atlanta this week, we're going to finish with a divisional record of 4-2. And we're going to win the division, and we're going to have a winning record, and we're going to go to the playoffs if Carolina beats Tampa Bay. So it's all pretty close. And what makes it worse is even if we win, we have to wait and see if Tampa Bay loses. If Tampa Bay wins, we can still make it as a wild card. If we win and beat Atlanta, and then we sit around and watch the afternoon games and hope that Green Bay loses and Seattle loses. So this season would be better if we would have won just one more game. If we would have just one more win under our belt, we wouldn't have to sit around and watch. And there's a couple of games this past season that, pretty much determined that. The Green Bay loss, and to me, the loss against Houston, because that was a team you should have beat. Both of those teams you should have beat. When it's all said and done, Green Bay has a chance to make the playoffs in the wild card. And if we would have beat Green Bay, we would have that tiebreaker. So, one more win, we'd have a playoff wrapped up. I mean, we might have the division wrapped up before this last game. So there is a difference between 10-7, winning your division by a comfortable game or two, and then finishing how we're finishing. But it's pretty close. So I should be excited, but I'm not. I don't know if it's the players that are bad or if it's the coaches. Well, I'm positive the coaches aren't very good because I'm pretty sure this roster is good enough to be a winner. I mean, we've seen us play really good at times. We haven't lost very many games by a bunch of points. I mean, the worst loss of the year so far was against Tampa Bay. And we managed to beat them last week. So, given a second chance, could we beat all these other teams that we've lost to? Jacksonville or the Rams, the Vikings. If we could play those teams again, you think we're good enough to beat them? I think as a roster, we are good enough to compete with them. That's why I point at the coaches. Every now and then they'll put a game plan together and everything seems to work out. And then the talk of the town is, by some, the talk of the town is, they're putting it together. They're getting it together. It's the end of the year. We should have had this together a long time ago. Now, it's not that I'm impatient. I'm very patient. I waited 43 years for the Saints to go to the Super Bowl, and I feel like I'm going to have to wait 40 more. So I don't believe in the coaches. Even when they do have a decent game plan, I always feel like it's too little too late. Mostly the offense. We want to blame Derek Carr. If we finish with a winning record, and he ends up being slightly better than Andy Dalton, well, then I guess we're in a better position, except that salary of his drives me crazy. I feel like if you're going to get Andy Dalton style production, you should be paying Andy Dalton type money. So that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But I'm dead set on this coaching staff being changed. So, of course, we're pretty sure Dennis Allen isn't going anywhere, and we're hoping that we make some changes in the offensive coaching staff. So that's where we're at right now. It's not good enough. Dennis Allen as a head coach is not good enough. He should have put his foot down about a lot of this stuff way earlier in the season when it was evident to everybody that we weren't doing the things we needed to do to win. And I never said this before, but now that I think about it, it's kind of like sabotage. I mean, could it be? First of all, Pete Carmichael didn't want to be the offensive coordinator. That was the word. He really didn't want to do it, but he came back anyway. Well, he looks like a guy that doesn't really like his job, doesn't really want to do it. Especially when you've got Michael Thomas and he's healthy, but you're not running him in slants. Okay. No crossing routes by Thomas. Well, that's his two best routes, and he's not running them. Okay. Are you trying to lose? We have Taysom Hill, who's a phenomenal runner, and he's a spark plug, potential MVP of the team. And we go weeks at a time without him getting enough touches, 2, 3, 4 touches. That's it. What are you doing? Are you throwing the game? Are you trying to lose? You have Jimmy Graham, and the only reason you kept him was because he was a red zone threat. That, and he's going to retire a Saint, and everybody's happy, and let's sell some more tickets and everything else. But week after week, you have him inactive because he doesn't play special teams. Well, what do you want? Do you want a tight end that plays special teams that's going to be active? Or do you want Jimmy Graham, who is never going to lose the ability to be 6'7" and jump up and catch the ball? So are you trying to lose when you have Jimmy Graham inactive and you go 0-5 in the red zone and lose to the Houston Texans? Are you trying to lose? So that's what I'm talking about. When the offensive coach finally calls a few crossing routes, a few slants, he's using motion, he's using play action pass, he's using Jimmy Graham, Taysom Hill, and Alvin Kamara in the red zone, and then we want to say he's turning a corner. This is obvious stuff he should have been doing a long time ago. If he decides to do this stuff, the roster seems good enough to win games. So we're being held down by this coaching staff. And Dennis Allen, hands off on the offense, but anybody and their grandmother could see, even the worst Saints fan could see we weren't utilizing Jimmy Graham correctly, and we weren't utilizing Alvin Kamara correctly. We're not utilizing Taysom Hill correctly. We weren't utilizing Michael Thomas correctly. We weren't utilizing Derek Carr correctly, because every time we were in the red zone, we were putting it on Carr's shoulders, and he was no good in the red zone. Well, he's better now. Well, you've changed a lot of things since then. You started using Taysom Hill and Kamara. You started bringing in Jimmy Graham when you were putting it on Carr's shoulders in the red zone. And so you started doing the things you should have been doing. And now we're saying Derek Carr's playing a little better. And hey, look, we can finish with a winning record. And if all things work out, we could actually win the division and make the playoffs. So I still don't have faith. Even when the defensive coaches, even when the offensive coaches all come together with a great game plan, even when the special teams is working great, I still don't have enough faith in this team. And it's mainly because of the coaching staff. So what's our fate? Probably going to have Dennis Allen as a head coach. Okay, and then as far as defensive staff goes, we're probably not going to change much. I drew attention to the defensive line. Todd Grantham's only been here 1 year as our D-line coach, so maybe he deserves a second year. I see hot and cold from the defense, from the defensive line, from the whole team. The whole team's inconsistent. And even this great defense, which is the best part of our team, is when our defense plays its best. We're a hard team to beat. The offense just needs to scrounge up 21 points and we can win a game. But the defense isn't that consistent. They will play great for 2 to 3 quarters and then give up a big quarter, and the offense isn't good enough to keep up with that, and that's been the fate of this team. Or the opposing team gets up really big, and then they start playing this half-ass prevent, and we end up coming back, and we make the game look closer than it was. Is this a indication of resolve? A team that doesn't know when to quit, a team that fights back, or is it just an indication of an opposing team that's winning by so much they can play like this and let us climb back into it because they're good. They're good. They're Gucci. So the Saints beat Atlanta. We go 9-8. And then we look at the scoreboard and see that Tampa Bay has lost to the Panthers. At that point, the game's over. We're in the Superdome. The Saints are NFC South champions. We break out the hats, break out the shirts. NFC South divisional champs. 9-8. Woo! Who dat? Besides half the teams we played. But okay. But we're winners. And Tampa Bay loses to Carolina. So we all send a fruitcake to Carolina, thanking them for their service. And we get to go to the playoffs. And next week we would host Philadelphia and hope that Jalen Hurts doesn't run for 200 yards against us. That's the way it could happen this weekend. That would be a moment to celebrate the mediocrity that is the Dennis Allen-led Saints. That would be best case scenario. The next best case scenario would be that the Saints win and we finish 9-8, but we look up at the scoreboard and Tampa Bay has beaten Carolina. That's okay. There's still a chance because in the afternoon we get to watch 2 football games, and we hope that Chicago beats Green Bay, and we hope that Arizona beats Seattle. Now, there's a reality where the Saints could lose, Tampa Bay could win, Green Bay could win, Seattle could win, and everything goes wrong for the Saints. Like I say, the Saints lose, we're out of it no matter what. There's also that likely chance that some will go right, some will go wrong. The Saints could win, Tampa Bay wins, but we can still sneak in as a wild card. And then we have to watch Green Bay, who we've lost to this year, try to beat Chicago or try to lose. We want them to lose to Chicago. We'll watch Green Bay either beat Chicago or we'll watch Seattle beat Arizona. You know, Seattle and Chicago are 2 teams that are on my shit list of teams I hate the most. You know, you can throw the Rams and the 49ers and the Vikings. You can even throw the Ravens in there. There are certain teams I don't like because they beat us every time we play them. And yeah, we're going to sit here and hope that a team like Chicago, who kicked us out of the playoffs twice, can actually do something for us and win, beat Green Bay for us, or Seattle, who beat us in the wild card game not so long ago, the Beast Quake game. Yeah, Seattle, another one of my least favorite teams. It'd be nice to watch them lose to Arizona. But yeah, we could win. Tampa Bay could win, and we could still sneak in there if Seattle and Green Bay loses. And if all of that happens, if we win, Tampa Bay loses, Seattle loses, Green Bay loses, well, maybe we are blessed, at least for 1 week, because we'll have a winning record, we'll have won the division, or we'll have snuck into the wild card, and we're in the dance. If we make it as a wild card team, we're going to be on the road and we'll be traveling to Dallas. So that's what you got to look forward to. Those are your 3 scenarios. Saints win, Tampa Bay loses, we win the division, and we host Philadelphia. Or the Saints win, Tampa Bay wins, but Seattle and Green Bay lose, and we're able to go into the playoffs, and we'll be traveling to Jerry World to play, like Bobby Hebert likes to say, the Cowgirls. Or we win and one of those other things doesn't go right and we're sitting at home. Or we could lose and be sitting at home. Well, there's your four options, I guess. This season feels like a season where we actually win this game, but we don't make the playoffs. That's what the season feels like. So if we beat Atlanta and we somehow squeeze into the playoffs, I will do a reaction video. I probably won't break down the stats like I usually do, but we'll be talking about the postseason. But chances are, the extreme high percentage chance is that we're not going to make the postseason. But I will still be here. We're going to be doing a final video wrapping up the regular season. We'll be giving out awards to the players of the year. And we'll be looking forward to the off season. So I will be covering any coaching changes that happen, any player personnel changes that happen. We'll be focusing on our projected draft order. Well, once the Super Bowl's over, we'll have the final draft order. Compensatory picks will be allocated, and we can start really focusing in on the draft and free agency. So that's my plan for this channel. Subscribe to Rosenbuilt 10 to have continuous coverage of the Saints from a fan's perspective who has waited his whole life to be a happy football Saints fan. And yeah, if this team squeezes it in to the playoffs and we actually make some noise in the playoffs, then it'll be a season to remember. But if this team, this Dennis Allen team, makes the Super Bowl, I promise you it's not going to feel like it did when we made it in 2009 with Drew Brees. We had a team then that I felt like we could beat anybody. And if we win in the playoffs, I'm going to be surprised that we beat anybody. But I'll be there. And hey, we make the playoffs, anything can happen. We can turn these Browns upside down. Subscribe to Rosenbuilt 10. I will be doing more videos like this. And until then, let's go, Saints. Bless all you beautiful Who Dat Nation Saints fans, and I'll talk to you later. Who Dat?